I wanted to go over something important that I think some people are not taking advantage of, or not doing that would raise their grades a little bit. Let's just say, for I'm doing the grades for week 7, and I'm looking at 5A and 5D, which were chapter 5, exercise A and D, and the ex the A exercises always come right underneath the story. And these questions are very simple to answer if you only look back to the story. You'll find the answers for the most part directly in the story. Some people seem to be trying to answer these questions without any reference to that story, and I think that is pulling grades down because grammatically the answers are just sort of all over the place. Um, so if you look over here on the right for 5A, you'll see I have the questions listed here. They're 1 through 7. And then I have the answers in bold here. And I also have the line numbers from the story that show exactly where to find those answers. So typically, historically, the A exercises are simple if students will only go back and look at that story. If you try to frame the answer yourselves without reference to the story, again, your grammar is just going to be a mess sometimes because you're still getting used to how these things work. So please go back and look at the story. That also goes for some of these other exercises where you're asked to give the Latin for English sentences. Uh, Oftentimes, you're asked to use the story once again as a guide for how to frame those answers. So it won't always be a perfect match. Like Cornelia often wishes to wander in the woods will not necessarily be in that story, but there will be sentences that are similar to it that you should at least use to guide you. Flavia wishes to climb the large tree. I don't know that Flavia is mentioned as wanting to climb trees at all. I don't remember it that way anyway. But there certainly is reference to climbing a tree, climbing a big tree, and there's reference to wishing or wanting for a singular subject like Flavia. Here are the correct answers for 5A and 5D, and you can pause this if you want to sort of think about those. I'm not going to individually give comments on your exercises this week just because my time is so incredibly short this week. So I'm giving you correct answers. These are actually answers from a student in the class that have been lightly edited. Um, very lightly edited. I believe I only made a couple of very minor corrections to these sentences. So you should, everyone theoretically should be able to reproduce answers like this for these kinds of exercises. It just takes a little bit more work than maybe some of you are doing right now, but they are. You should all be capable of just using that story. You should be able to answer at least the 5A, the A exercises, if not also the writing in Latin exercises as well. So I think it just takes a little bit more time. So just by way of an example, let's just cut down to number 7. Oh, by the way, some of you also didn't notice that there was 6 and 7 on the second page of the story. That happens when a story runs from the first page onto the second page of the chapter. You'll see that there are more questions on the end of the story there. So please look at that carefully. I know that's a little bit confusing there, but you see Responde Latine and you see Responde Latine up here on the first page. So please look carefully on the second page of the story for further questions from those A exercises. So if we look at question 7, cur sextus ex arbore non descendit, which translates roughly to why does Sextus not come down out of the tree? You find the answer on line 15. There is at least a reference to Sextus. It says right here, Sextus, a cowardly boy. Ignavus means cowardly or lazy. We've had that in a previous chapter. Sextus, a cowardly boy, still sits in the tree scared or terrified. And then it says, he is afraid to come down out of the tree. So, why has he not come down out of the tree? Because he is afraid to come down out of the tree. I mean, we've seen that the wolf is down on the ground. There's a lot of ways to answer that question. Like The lupus est sub arbore would be okay. The wolf is under the tree. I mean, you could say a few things there. You could say Sextus is a cowardly boy. That's why he doesn't come out of the tree. And that's actually what question 6 asks. Qualis puer est sextus? What kind of a boy is Sextus? And we see the correct answer here. Sextus says puer ignavus. So I really think that a careful attention to the details of the story is critical. I think some of you are just sort of like trying to cut to the exercises without really reading that story carefully, and the results are sometimes a little bit disastrous. So that's my advice for this week. Use that story. Don't neglect it. Okay. I'll leave the answers. Well, you can pause the video, obviously, and see the answers. Okay. Those are the correct answers. Compare your own answers to these answers, and I hope that you will see where you went wrong. Okay. Take care.